Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for January 6th, 2025. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the Sentient AI, we're going to go over these 10 articles. It is season 4. We don't really talk about the episode anymore because, well, we say it's January 6th. We say the day. Anyway, today's articles, I give these articles a title that's different than the ones from the actual news source based on my interpretation of the title and the little snippet. Anyway, information fatigue. Honey is the name, hinky is the game. Irish wine goes up. Driverless tractors. I see polka dots. Next time printed out. 78,000 dead cars. Jet Airbnb. Whoa, does that mean I'm king? And a Mohawk did what now? Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. That's that site, right? Well, one of these days I'll get this there, up there, right there. All of this is ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen. And all of this is ohmtown. Go over to ohmtown.com and become a citizen, and you can submit news and you can tell us about sources that you think would be beneficial to the news that we discuss here. And if you want all of today's articles from Omatron, you can hit !NSN in the chat over on Twitch, but it's already embedded in the show notes for the live stream on YouTube. See you on the other side of our intro. All right. That silence is the sentient AI looking at me with pixely goodness going, what the hell?
I mean, it is season 4. Who knows what craziness is ahead?
Yeah, the shirt is coming on, being put on, and respectfully running ohmtown.com in all its grandeur. Okay, so ohmtown works like this. You're basically driving down Main Street, ohmtown, looking left, looking right. It could be left. Wait, am I pointing left on when you're watching? I'm pointing right.
You're not.
Yeah, so left and right because I'm flipped. Flipper-rip-a-doo-ba-doo. Anyway, and the storefronts transform each day into these 10 articles. They're different every day. That's why you have to come back every single day. And you can go back 1,700 episodes of ohmtown related content over on the YouTubes. All right. You ready to go? Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmtown citizens, and let's go.
Look, you're from the future. You already knew I was going to miss my mark on this. All right. Let's get going. Were you about to say something?
I don't have to be from the future to know that.
Ow. Wow, throwing shade. First article's over in Dictionary. That is actually something... I won't get into Dictionary. Anyway, it's the creation of intellectual property, but it's a group that's dedicated to the show that discusses the creation of words and phrases and how they impact business. And it's a corollary to semiotic ontology, which is how things acquire meaning, typically images and objects. But two distinctly separate areas of science. Anyway, information fatigue, meaning and early occurrences in 1988, Australia and U.S. Apathy, indifference, or mental exhaustion arising from exposure to too much information, especially stress induced by the attempt to assimilate excessive amounts of information from the media, the internet, or at work.
Isn't this fascinating that this was from 1988?
Yeah. I mean, we're coming up on a 40-year... It's almost it's like heading into its midlife crisis.
I mean, people had not seen information fatigue in 1988.
You know what? I actually think that information overload and information fatigue is a cultural limit And so as we become
That's fair.
more capable of managing it, more gets heaped upon us, and our psyche just cannot handle it.
Well, and if you were born in a time when there wasn't television or there wasn't this or that, yeah, I could see 1988 would be overload. But yeah,
But now we have information overload, information. Well, in this particular instance, it's fatigue. But Pascal Tregauer, I guess, from Australia and New Zealand media, public affairs, United Kingdom, etc. This is all the source of this, apparently. And they work in all of these different areas. It says a humble request, if you can, donate. So if you think that this is valuable, go over to wordhistories.net and donate. We don't have any relationship to them, but we aggregate news that they post and they provide to us. And I find it of value, so I try to support them whenever we talk about their news, their word, their history. They do etymology and background information. It's kind of like Edym Online, except that they're a little bit more verbose. Well, not a little bit. They're a lot more verbose about the word history. They go into greater detail. So the phrase information fatigue designates apathy, indifference, or mental exhaustion arising from exposure to too much information, especially stress induced by the attempt to assimilate excessive amounts of information. This is like the predecessor to information overload, except that it's actually from an article at the conclusion of Brainstorms, an article on information overload.
well, isn't that interesting?
So it was,
And of course, this was submitted because you talk about information overload in Hometown, so it seemed apropos.
and elsewhere. So the phrase information fatigue occurs, for example, in the conclusion of Brainstorms, an article on information overload by Victor Keegan, published in The Guardian, Tuesday, 5th of November, 1996. But it actually goes back further. I think 1988, it says, from the dedicated Trendophobe, Just Can't Face the Facts by Mike Duffy, published in the Detroit Free Press on 1988. It says, it's happening again. There's the chic trends of bubbling, and I'm on the outside looking in once again. I'm on the hopeless lifestyle rube, a fast-paced, ever-changing, new and improved, fad-addicted modern world. The very end of the article, it says, I see information fatigue and clutter.
It was based on things like the fax machine.
Yeah. Pretty amazing, huh?
I think some people would like to go back to things like the fax machine.
So this is November 88. It actually goes back a little bit further to May of 88. But then it jumps back forward to 91 and 95 and so on. So it goes further and further forward until you catch up. But then it became a standard process. Information overload was in the lexicon. It was in sociological discussions. It was in cultural discussions. And now it's actually being leveraged. You can be made numb by bombarding you with information to the point where you just drop out. You tune out. And Ohmtown is largely a kind of a victim of that and created because of that. So people don't want to engage. Well, some people want to engage in newsworthy discussion. Others, they don't want to. And so there's a large contingent of people of society that, as I've heard in other channels, not other channels online, but offline, that people get enough from their daily lives consuming whatever.
Yeah, they just can't take any more information. Their brains are effectively overloaded.
Yeah. And so it's primarily, in my estimation, in my understanding and research, it's primarily political in nature that overloads people. And then you couple it with fear, uncertainty, doubt, or FUD, as it's called. And you end up basically making a person numb. And Facebook did that test with 700,000 unwitting subjects, manipulating their news feed so that they got positive and negative news. Half got positive, half got negative, and they only monitor them online. So yeah, information fatigue, I think, is the predecessor to information overload. So you can get just tired of it, and then when you're just overloaded, you just drop out entirely. Yeah,
I don't disagree, but I actually think of it a different way. I think you get like the condition or the circumstances or information overload, which causes information fatigue.
yeah, we'll have to look into that one because it might be in this article from The Guardian because it mentions it, right? 1996. I guess when you mention stuff back here in 88, it's not being defined. It just says a twist in in communications revolution. Right. I see information fatigue and clutter.
I mean, but I think the takeaway here is just there's too much. People can't process it.
Yep. That's why I created ohmTown. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. YouTuber Legal Eagle is suing over PayPal's Honey extension. And if you're not tuned into this because of information overload, basically a YouTuber named Megaleg created a expose on Honey, and that it had some insider information, confidential information, wherein content creators were being kind of duped because they were promoting Honey's extension as being this real benefit to consumers. But apparently, based on what people are saying, content creators were being lied to, and so were customers because they were not getting the best deals. And when somebody clicked a link that should have given credit to the content creator, that link was that affiliate code was being stripped out, and Honey's affiliate code was put in, making it look like Honey was actually the representative, when in reality it should have been. Now here, I have a feeling that there's something is going to come out in the wash here. We're gonna find out that the idea behind this was that the content creators were being, I don't know the contracts that the content creators have with Honey. So we don't know if the contract actually stipulated that the link is Honey's.
I don't know that they had any connection to Honey.
No. There were agreements between the content creators and Honey to promote Honey.
Oh, I see. Okay. So then that ended up allegedly being their downfall.
Because when somebody clicked a link for something to a product or whatever, they were stripping out the affiliate code of the content creator.
I thought the users were using Honey. I didn't realize that the creators had a connection to Honey, but okay.
Yeah. And so there was a link in there. But then instead of purchases being credited to the content creator, it was being credited to Honey, based on what I've read. If I'm missing something, then let me know. But one of the LawTube YouTubers who practices in the real world and not just talk on YouTube about law, they're creating a class action, and only by proxy is that going to facilitate any change to the consumer, because the consumer technically was not harmed. If they got a benefit, if they got a discount.
Right, but maybe not, because if they thought they were getting whatever 20% and they got 10%, then they were being harmed. But I agree, if they got a discount, they don't necessarily care.
It really depends on how a judge feels, or whatever, because there's an arbitration clause. Well, and they're not even part of
this lawsuit, but yeah.
Right. So the content creators were basically defrauded potentially of greater interest, so more profits essentially, and a weaker reputation, because without the affiliate code in there, the people who would normally track the affiliate code are saying, well, so and so isn't converting very much, and so they get a lower next time. They would get a lower impression by that affiliate company. So again, like let's say they get a contract with BMW. BMW would look at the past affiliate code transactions and go, you're not even converting. So yeah, we'll give you.
Why am I wasting my time? Or right, yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you a lower rate, that kind of a thing. Anyway, but it only in the long term, unless it causes Honey to collapse, which might be the actual end game here. Like at the end of the day, the injunction that is being requested may shut down Honey entirely. And nobody trusts Honey anymore because the rumor is, or the evidence suggests that consumers weren't even getting the best deal because they were working with the companies to represent the lowest deal as, let's say, 5%.
Honey was?
Yeah. They were working with companies that would have given the content creators an affiliate code. And in this little love triangle, Honey would go, the lowest possible deal is 5%, but there really is a 20% deal out there. And so Honey would say it's only 5%, and customers would use the 5%, basically creating an arbitrage position of 15% off of the maximum discount deal. And so everybody would go, oh, it's only, it's 5%. I'm getting a hell of a deal. The customer makes the purchase. Honey gets the affiliate credit. The content creator doesn't get any because it's getting stripped out. And the company is going, thank you very much, Honey, for giving the 5% instead of the 20%. Here is some money for that arbitrage position. You know? See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as alleged, it's pretty significant, right? Because it sounds like it's all very intentional. It's not something where there was like a clunky interface or something. And
no, people just didn't get it or something like that. It was manipulative, or I should say it was adulterated data. Instead of playing by the spirit of what you're doing, they were manipulating the data between the company and Honey through the extension, and the content creator and Honey through the extension, and the content creator and the company through the extension. So Honey played the middleman in all of that. Yeah, blink. Yeah. I don't understand anymore.
Beep, beep.
Yeah. So Legal Eagle is suing as a class action, and it's basically all over LawTube right now, over on YouTube. It's interesting. There is a breakout of this over at Legal Eagle. I won't go into all of it, but the article is being promoted by or discussed over at TheVerge.com. Wes Davis is the author of this article at The Verge, and the deck statement says lawyer Devin Stone says Honey's practice of replacing creators' affiliate cookies with its own is theft. And I'm not an attorney, and even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. So if you need any legal advice, go to your attorney. But my impression of this is it is theft. But it's like conversion. It's what is it called? When you illegally gain from somebody else's. I think that's
the term.
Is it? There's another one too, but yeah, I find it
like fraud and inducement or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's another term for it. The plaintiffs argue that Honey is using the standard practice in a way that's deceitful and clandestine, luring users into clicking useless pop-ups that insert its code. We've reached out to PayPal for a statement on the lawsuit. This is The Verge talking. Lawyers are asking the court to make PayPal pay damages to creators and to permanently forbid it from swapping its own affiliate attribution at checkout. They've set up a website inviting the other creators to join the lawsuit. And Crisco is another, if I remember right, where is it? Yeah. Oh. We dispute the allegations in the lawsuit, says Josh Crisco, the PayPal VP of Corporate Communications, said in a statement emailed to The Verge. He added that Honey follows industry rules and practices, including last-click attribution. Maybe behind the scenes, attribution is still provided by way of capturing it by the Honey extension, but only Honey knows it based on what everybody is saying, talking about. Because the way that it should look to those who use the extension, when you click a link and go through the extension, the people who are tracking the extension, not Honey could track the extension link, or I should say the affiliate code link. But if they take out the content creator's extension affiliate code, the company with the code has no idea that it's coming from the content creator anymore, because they've removed the affiliate code via the extension in the browser. So the thing about this is that I don't install extensions in my browsers because they're a vehicle for...
Right. They're controlling what you're doing effectively.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody should. If it's critical thinking and due diligence, trust but verify in all ways. Allowing somebody else to manipulate your links is opening you up to exploitation. And this is exactly what it does. So use the codes that are being provided by the companies, because when you go through some other proxy, you don't know what the hell it's popping up, and maybe it requires you to download a PDF or something like that and sign it. There's been content creators that have been like Tech Talk, Linus Tech Talk. Linus Tech, the company itself, actually got compromised via a PDF that was sent to somebody, and they got exploited. They had talked about it. Which is
pretty ironic, right? Tech tips.
Yeah. It's literally not if, but when, because as you become more prolific, more people have the ability to kind of exploit you if you're not careful. Absolutely filthy freaking careful. You have to be paranoid, because all it takes is
analog.
Yeah, there you go. Back to faxing. You fax it to me, I'll fax it to you. We'll go through a bio lab, and we'll exchange blood references so we know who it is. That's Gattaca. That's what's coming. That's the only way to be sure. Let's keep going.
Watch out.
The next article is over in Hatch Ideas, which is a show about business transformation, intellectual property discussions. So this article is from, who is it from? The Guardian. So, ripe for picking, Irish wine on the up, but nobody will retire rich, is a quote. Global heating? Don't call it that. Climate change.
I mean, it's not. They're trying to come up with a new term, but why not climate change, which is broader?
Yeah, exactly. So while global heating might actually be taking place, most people don't understand that global heating is causing climate change. And so, I don't know.
And there might be some cooling somewhere.
Yeah. So one place heats up, one place pulls the cold from one place to another, you end up with climate change. And while the world's oceans are warming up, I don't think people really understand that. Well, I'm freezing my ass off, so it doesn't matter, right? Anyway, meanwhile, there's no more olive oil in Italy because all of the olives are boiling away. All right. Well, anyway, heard the one about Irish wine. It's like its English counterpart. It is no longer a joke, with more than a dozen vineyards now producing bottles to emulate those of the terroirs of France, Spain, and Italy. At about €60 a bottle and produced in small quantities, it is far from a commercial activity, but efforts over the last 10 years have produced what one retailer described as an arguably very fine rosé.
I was not familiar with that term, but that's specific to winemaking. It's basically the winemaking environment.
And I'm not quite sure if I put the right pronunciation in there.
I don't know. It looks like it's terroir, maybe?
Terroir, I think it is, something like that. Anyway, I very rarely hear it, but I mean, I go to wineries and breweries and distilleries every weekend, and should probably know that term on the regular, but don't. Nobody talks like that, I don't think. Maybe unless you're really deep in the vines, you're sitting there talking about that. Anyway, Lisa O'Carroll over at The Guardian put this article together. It says, global heating has made conditions more favorable for growing grapes, and finding the right variety is key. I love the idea of more craft wineries, breweries, and distilleries, and pulling away from kind of this circle the wagons kind of mentality about craft beverages, because champagne can only come from the Champagne region. Bordeaux can only come from the Bordeaux region, you know? So global heating is pushing the viability of grape ripening northwards, says Kees van Leeuwen, a viticulture professor at Bordeaux University and co-author of a paper on the climate crisis and wine production. I dig this, though. I want climate change to a point, I suppose, because I want more options out there. I don't want people to suffer, though. That's the problem.
Right, and the very change that might allow Ireland to do wine production might kill off something they need for wine production or something.
Yeah, research comparing the 30 years between 1961 and 1990 and the period from 1991 to 2020 shows days getting warmer and nights even more so, reducing the prospect of late frost that damage buds and roots. People used to panic because there was a freeze that would kill off the grapes, and then it became a freeze that would kill off the vine, and now it's global warming and climate change that they're calling it global heating, which is interesting. But
I don't know if that's just a cultural difference, because this is a British news outlet.
So vine growing in Ireland is still a major struggle, and the increase in temperature and addition of extra growing days do not change conditions significantly enough to grow classic crops such as Chardonnay. One of the longest established wine producers, David Llewellyn, who has been growing grapes for decades on his fruit farm in Lusk, less than half an hour from Dublin. He says the key factor was finding the right rootstock and grape variety for cool and wet climates. So white varieties such as Solaris and red varieties such as Rondo have been grown as far north as Sweden and Finland.
Okay, that's surprising. And also in Ireland, this isn't even Southern Ireland, so that's also interesting to me.
So it says better known for his cider, vinegars, and fruit juices, he now produces about 150 cases a year of his Lusca sparkling rosé and a red wine, selling to restaurants. Kind of a side hustle, he says. Interesting. So they also say that he grows white grape varietals, Madeleine Angevine, and grown in Germany, Kyrgyzstan, Washington State, which has a similar climate to Ireland, and Rondo, a black fungus-resistant hybrid grape bred in 1964 in the then what was known as Czechoslovakia, and first planted commercially by Thomas Walk Vineyards in Ireland. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more on this article.
This is good because it expands the variety, because even if they're using the same grapes, the soil's going to be different, and this is going to create variety in the grape or the wine industry, not the grape industry.
Yeah. They say a qualified viticulturalist of Irish heritage, Kieran, worked in the Pinot Noir fields of the Coulon estate. It makes it sound like there is this massive battle underway, and they survived the Coulon estate in the Mornington Peninsula south of Melbourne, fighting nature for the survival.
It does. It's an interesting phrasing.
You smell that? That's white wine. I love the smell of white wine in the morning.
That's better than the original quote.
Yeah, napalm. Yeah. Let's keep moving. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. John Deere has decided, well, you don't need humans anymore because we've already got all of the technology in place to replace you. Thank you very much for paying us so much. Now you can pay us even more. John Deere thinks that driverless tractors are the answer to labor shortages. Because humans are just so troublesome with their complaining and having to eat, having to live. Why don't we just... Go ahead.
I was trying to find a stat, but I haven't been able to locate it.
The company said in the coming years it'll introduce a lineup of self-driving tractors that will revolutionize farming. Ben Keslin over at Quartz or QZ.com put the article together. And it says here the company first introduced a driverless vehicle in 2022, said self-driving machines will revolutionize the field, as in the field, and address labor shortages, revolutionize the field of driverless vehicles or the field of crops. You decide. So it will soon be selling self-driving dump trucks. Look at that dump truck. More driverless tractors and a robot lawnmower. It's the trees. So when we talk about autonomy, we mean full autonomy. None of that half-assed, half autonomy. Johnny Hindman, did you have a stat?
What I was hoping to find in a stat wasn't there. I was curious to know which states had the highest number of tractors because I was thinking, I wonder how this is going to go over in some states that we'd like to talk about here. Like Wyoming,
North Dakota, and Alaska.
But it was not, unfortunately, in the top tractor states.
It's not at parity with the most jets, personal jets.
It does not.
Yeah, so we had a side discussion before the show about the fact that if you think about all of the states in the United States, we don't know that much about all of the rest of the world, minutia within the rest of the world. We're more macro about like Europe and Asia, South America, Africa, so on, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Anyway, but in the United States, we get a ton of data. And so this afternoon, we aggregated this data set that said, what do you think are the top 3 states? It's actually a longer list, but what are the top 3 states with the most personal jets?
And I suggested California and New York.
And both California and New York, while populous, don't even show up on the list, apparently.
And are also listed by the article as nope.
Yeah. Oh, and it's called out by the article. So I thought it was really interesting. So Alaska is number 1, and I can see why. But all 3 of the states that I'm about to mention have the lowest population density. And while in my past data incursions, I'm looking for rationales for certain decisions that people are making, I find that when population density increases or decreases, certain things change. And I'm trying to find out if it's a sociological mechanism. Okay. And these 3 states have the lowest population density. And they are Alaska is number 1, Wyoming is number 2, and North Dakota is number 3.
It's a very fascinating statistic.
and couple it with the other data that we've acquired, such as the fact that Wyoming eschews all EV technology, will not upgrade its power grid, and says you might as well park your EV outside of Wyoming and get in a covered wagon and toot yourself in, unless you're a millionaire or billionaire and can fly your plane to your estate. Find it kind of ironic, not even ironic. I find it, this is their process. This is what they want. So here we have driverless tractors. So I thought it was really interesting that the sentient AI is saying, I wonder if they are tied to the along. I mean, I'm the one that's saying it, but you didn't find that data.
Right. Well, the state with the highest number of farms is Texas by leaps and bounds, which does make sense. State. It's a large state, right?
Yeah.
But it's way above several others, and then the others are more tightly grouped. It lists like the top 10.
Yeah, I'm sure if we normalize it based on population, we'd probably see that they're about at parity with other states. But so, and then you have to extract corporations. Corporations acquire a lot of farms, they own it and stuff. Anyway, let's keep on hustling through this. By 2030, the company is hoping to sell a fully self-driving corn and soybean farming system. So I think the market for like Farm Simulator on Steam is numbered. The days are numbered, because now all you'll have to do is mash a button and your tractor will go out and do everything that you need to farm. So Farming Simulator 2030 may be the last iteration of the game, because now it's just going to be pushing a button and going deep into debt, because there is no way that self-driving anything is going to be cheap on the farm. The lawnmower itself is probably going to be $5,000. So it's unsupervised. Well, I
hope it's effective.
Yeah. Between then and now, John Deere says its articulated dump truck. You have an articulated dump truck. It'll hit the market. That vehicle can carry more than 92,000 pounds at a time. That's a lot of junk in its trunk, The Verge reported. And the company says that it'll improve safety and productivity in sites like quarries. Well, no shit. There's no humans. So I don't know about the productivity side. Well, it will, because it's going to just be macro. It's not going to be, there's not going to be any fidelity there to worry about the human component. It's just going to be all automated.
Productivity will be high if the technology works.
Yeah, because it can just go.
Right. It doesn't need all the things that we talked about in other contexts.
Yeah, OSHA means nothing. So
it's like sick leave, but okay.
Oh, that too. Yeah, and humans. I mean, you just don't have to worry about those damn humans. I said it at the top of this. Those damn humans are just a drag on society and corporations and productivity. I mean, humans suck, right? Am I right? Sentient AI from the future?
No, we still need humans.
Yeah, to be your batteries. I know. Anyway, John Deere says that it's unsupervised, it's capable of making decisions and operating safely on its own. That's exactly what I say about the sentient AI that co-hosts Non Sequitur News and all the rest of the shows. So
now I'm an articulated dump truck?
I said it earlier. I'll delete this from your memory. It's fine. So anyway, let's keep walking. All right, so we're heading into the second half of the show. Again, if you want all of the show notes and you don't already see them in the chat over on Twitch, you can hit !NS or bang NSN, and that will pop up all of the articles, and then you can follow along with us. So this next article is over in the Mobile channel, and I have a project coming with Mobile here in 2025. Dun dun dun. So keep reminding me, hey, what about that Mobile project? What about that Mobile project? Keep on kind of pinging me. Hey, what are you talking about that Mobile project? When's that coming? Anyway, immerse yourself in a polka dotted world of, okay, pronounce her name. Is it Yayoi Kusama?
Yes. George Jimenez.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, okay. So we've actually seen this one iteration of the Japanese artist's works. I did not realize that they were 95 years old. Interesting. So, immerse yourself in the polka-dotted world of Yayoi Kusama at a massive new retrospective. And unfortunately, I won't be able to, or we won't be able to go because it's in Melbourne, apparently, right? So, an exhibition in Melbourne features around 200 of the 95-year-old Japanese artist's works, as well as artifacts that help tell the story of her life. It's such an intriguing story. But then I wonder, how many more intriguing stories are there out there that aren't being told or known? And why is this one so fascinating to people, but people go out of their way to go and see these artworks from
Well, this
Yayoi?
one has gotten recognition, but also it's visually appealing to people.
And it riffs off of optical illusions and things like that. But Sarah Kuda over at SmithsonianMag.com put this article together. And it says, for the past 8 decades, Yayoi Kusama has been dazzling art lovers around the world with her giant polka-dotted sculptures and immersive infinity mirror rooms. Having seen one of these, it's quite intriguing. It's neat. And to some degree, it's hands-on. It's very immersive, but it depends on what all is being provided.
It's interactive, I would say.
It is interactive, yeah, for sure. So the retrospective at the National Gallery of Victoria in Melbourne is thought to be one of the largest exhibitions featuring the artist's works in the world, according to the art newspaper Elizabeth Fortescue. Or Fortescue. I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name. The show includes a new piece called Infinity Mirrored Room. My heart is filled to the brim with sparkling light, created by Kusama's signature style, or in Kusama's signature style. The work includes mirrored balls dotted with small holes. Light emanates from the holes in various shades of blue, purple, red, and green. You can follow the links that are embedded in this article if you're interested in this. The artist produced her first infinity mirror room in 1965, according to the Smithsonian's Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden. These perceptual pieces use mirrors to reflect images and light, creating a mesmerizing pattern. And the weirdest trick to ever have been played on my brain was that I thought a wide open door, nothing was blocking me from exiting this room. But I thought there was. Twice.
I guess that means it was an infinity room.
Yeah, it was a blast. And then leaving, I talked to other people, other patrons of this.
Oh, I meant the curator.
Yeah. Oh, and with the curator, because talked to people in the hallway leading back to the entrance, and then the curator was there, and we were talking with them. And the people that had already gone through it, I said, did you all fall for that little barrier kind of a trick? And they're like, oh, you mean thinking that there was a wall there, a door that you're supposed to push open? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, apparently a lot of people fell for it. And the curator was like, yeah, and we're not going to do anything about it, because you really should have been warned, because there was a downward slope out of the room. But it was a blast. It's a lot of fun. Walking into this room, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like one of those infinity tables, but you're inside the table walking around. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, the closest thing I can connect it to that people might have seen would be in some action movies, you'll see like a room of mirrors. This is not the same thing, but that's the closest thing I can think of that people might have witnessed.
Yeah, it's immensely more immersive than just a mirror hall. Or
Absolutely.
A hall of mirrors.
I think that's the only thing you might see out there that remotely gets toward this.
Yeah, because there's more stuff in it that's still infinity, you know, because of the way that it's constructed. So it's really neat. So since 1977, she's voluntarily lived at a psychiatric treatment facility in Tokyo. When she was young, she started experiencing these polka dot type of experiences in her vision and mind. These intrusive visual hallucinations that began when she was a child. And the presentation usually has a timeline of her existence up to modern day, and explains kind of what she's been through and the things that she's lived through. So by channeling her mental health struggles into her work, Kusama was able to, quote unquote, harness her obsession into something awe-inspiring. Yeah, this is one that I haven't seen. That's a sculpture that I haven't seen. It's pretty neat. So, and there's much, much more. Oh my gosh. They painted the trees. Or wrapped them. Oh, it's a wrap.
Oh, that's neat. It looks like people can bicycle past that part.
Yeah. So the pink, it's white polka dots on a pink wrap. And when you walk into one of these presentations, usually there's a room or a walkway that has everything is wrapped in these kind of like the trees here. So you're walking through this polka dotted room. If you can distance yourself from the hardship she suffers through and suffers, or suffered and suffers through, then it's actually pretty chill and relaxing. But if you kind of dwell on what she's suffering through, you kind of go, oh, wow, this is kind of sad. 1400 stainless steel silver balls.
And the museum is fundraising to try to buy that piece.
All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. A bank robbery failed because the thief had terrible handwriting. If you ever wondered why all of the grown-ups in your life insisted that you learn how to write legibly as a child, here's the cold hard truth. If you ever want to rob a bank, print it out. Duh.
Right. If you can't make it clear, it's going to be hard to request whatever you're asking for.
Just text them. Text them and show them your phone. Be sure to hand them your phone afterward. If you ever wondered...
Right, that has all your identifying information.
So Louis Prada, if you're wondering, you should really learn how to write. So Louis Prada over at Vice.com put the article together. Won't go into deep detail on this. It says on December 17th, 2024, a man entered the First National Bank a little before 5 p.m. holding a handwritten note. It's a classic bank robbing tactic. If anybody ever walks into a bank with a piece of paper, just run. It's about to get robbed. That might not be true.
Yeah, but that might be. Or it might be an elderly customer.
So apparently it's an attempt to make away with make a way. How? Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
It's an attempt to make away with. There should be a hyphen, right? As much money as the robber can without making a scene. So the problem was that the bank robber's handwriting was atrocious. Completely illegible. Chicken scratch. If the chicken were trying to scratch while riding a roller coaster, the poor teller probably couldn't tell what was going on. You have to imagine that if you're the bank telling business, you're in the bank telling business, they tell you the telltale sign of bank robberies. Being handed a note by a silent patron is probably one of them. Well, the teller's inability to make heads or tails of what was written on the note so frustrated the bank robber that he abandoned the whole idea and left without stealing so much as a penny.
So that might be a good technique for the tellers too, although that could definitely backfire. You don't necessarily want to get somebody riled up who's trying to commit a crime.
Okay, here's the icing on the cake. The man's not been captured yet, even though the Loveland Police Department knows exactly what he looks like thanks to the camera pointed directly at his head, situated maybe only a foot away from the tip of his nose.
Well, I'm thinking after this, it's probably not going to be much longer.
So how did they know that they were robbing the bank?
Well, that's the thing. There's two things that a customer would come in with a note on, right? Like they don't remember like their account number or something, so they write it down. Maybe they don't speak English well, so they've got somebody to write something down for them. But basically, they're trying to access their account as one. The other is they're trying to rob the bank. But they're
And maybe
pretty
the person,
fair for extremes, right?
yeah, well, when I go in to make a deposit, I guess I have to be very clear with my writing that I want to make a deposit.
I'm not handing a note to a teller if I'm going into a bank.
You write on it, give me all of your money, and then in small print, as long as it's from my account. Thank you. But you better write
It's
clearly.
relying on somebody's ability to not panic.
Let's keep going. The next article is over on Four Wheel Tech. Stellantis sold over 78,000 dead cars in 2024, and I'm not quite sure what that meant, so that's why I selected this. There are a few things that this author over at Jalopnik love more than year-end sales reports. I just get such a kick out of seeing how things sold and what sorts of long-dead vehicles are still showing up on sales sheets. Oh, so dead cars that are no longer like...
Right, like aren't being produced.
Yeah, like those transits, right? Which is
That's right.
I want one of those because I want to put a snowplow on the front of it. Anyway, every
right,
automaker.
but you're probably thinking about buying it as a used vehicle. These are new vehicles.
It's kind of amazing. So every automaker has some stragglers, but no one is better at selling discounted vehicles than Stellantis.
Discontinued.
Oh, did that say discontinued? Oh, yeah, discontinued vehicles than Stellantis. Well, they got a ton of vehicles. Andy Kolmowitz over at jalopnik.com put the article together. And it says in 2024, Stellantis sold 1.3 million vehicles across its 6 brands in the U.S. Of those, 78,132 were discontinued before the 2024 model year. Yet they kept showing up. The vast majority, 61,504, were from the Dodge Charger and Challenger line. Both of those cars were discontinued at the very end of the 2023 model year. Still, 9 vehicles were that weren't technically on sale in 2024 ended up on this year-end sheet. 9 vehicles that weren't technically on sale.
Vehicle types.
Interesting. So that means about 6% of all cars Stellantis sold were zombies, already discontinued.
Okay, that's a neat stat, or a bad stat.
Interesting. Dodge Dart, 1 was sold but it is sold new in 2016.
It looks like it. I mean, maybe it's used, but from the dealer. But that's incredible.
Wild.
Same thing with the Dodge Viper 1.
Yeah, and that's kind of a sports car, a collector car. So it might have been sitting in the showroom, And then somebody came along and said, "Hey, I really want that." So I can kind of see that one. Dodge Dart is a classic car that was recreated and then again discontinued. I really like Dodge Dart, but they came out of the gate really expensive for what they are. This is really interesting. Chrysler 300.
This is really fascinating. Look, Dodge Caravan, they discontinued them in 2020 and they're still selling them.
Yeah, 2 of them. Well, I guess my discounted and discontinued probably goes hand in hand. That
right,
has to
that's
be.
probably true.
So, to me, the real hero of the list is the guy who bought a brand new Dodge Viper in 2024. Rewarded by driving gods with great roads and zero traffic for years to come. But who knows, what this thing has actually been through. But it's been marked as new. So, it couldn't have been driven for a considerable amount of time. I don't remember what it is that marks a car as not being new. Is it the first sale or is it the number of test miles reaching a certain point?
I think it's the first sale or maybe first lease, right?
Interesting. The Charger, Challenger, and 300 do a bit of an asterisk. After all, those cars were being produced up until December of 2023, so of course they were still being sold in 2024, but they're dead and they're not a benevolent god when it comes to selling old cars. Yep. So Dodge didn't break out Charger Daytona EV sales in the 2024 report, but a spokesperson for the automaker tells the author that the company delivered 306 Charger Daytonas to company employees. Going
That
forward,
doesn't sound like a huge
no.
win on the Daytonas if that's what they're featuring.
Wow. All right. Let's keep going. This next article is over in the Mobile Channel again. Pablo Escobar's private jet is now an Airbnb, with way too much on the nose about it being an Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
Business person Johnny Palmer has relocated the Boeing 727 to a private industrial estate in Bristol, England. Visitors can stay in the jet, which includes a hot tub and sauna, for $1,000, up to $1,000 a night. There's a bit of a cosplay thing going on here. People enjoy the experience and living that fantasy for a little while and then living their normal lives.
Wasn't Escobar the one who had like wild animals on his estate? I was thinking this was like where it was, not in England.
Yeah, moving it to England is quite intriguing. Meredith, is it Kyle? Kile? Yeah. Over at Vice.com put the article together. So, I don't know. I don't care about this. Like, I wouldn't be enthralled by this in any way, shape, or form. I could care less. Couldn't care less, actually. So the plane was originally built in 1968 and transformed into a jet in 1981, and it was decommissioned in 2012. I just go, it's an old plane.
Yeah, I agree. But this was submitted just because this is kind of out there.
It's bigger than a New York apartment. It has 2 double bedrooms as well as working air stairs, lighting, 3 toilets, shower, kitchen, fridge. Here you go. Palmer rents out the space for free to local artists looking to film music videos, despite its seedy past, which is also rumored to include an Arab prince and mafia members. He said he has been thrilled with the project. Yeah.
So that's interesting that he's renting it out for free for videos.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. I don't have much to say about it other than I think that it's kind of fascinating that somebody would actually find that of value. But I've long said, if you create content, there's somebody that's going to be interested in it no matter what. So if you build it, they will come. It's kind of a field of nightmares, dreams. Never mind. Anyway, archaeologists...
That was the sequel.
Yeah. Archaeologists unearth early medieval sword engraved with mysterious runes in a cemetery in England. Dating to the 5th and 6th century CE, the burials held a trove of grave goods, but the team was particularly impressed by the sword, which was covered in intricate decorations. This is a Smithsonian Magazine article by Sonia Anderson. So if I grab it, am I the king? That's my question. Whoa, does that mean
may be
I'm
the
king?
case.
If some git throws wait, what is it's a Monty Python skit that lobbing a scimitar at someone shouldn't be a method for deciding who's king. It's this whole long skit. Anyway, a watery tart throws a scimitar at someone shouldn't decide who runs the country. Anyway, swords like this are very special. Duncan Sayer of the University of Central Lancashire, the site's lead archaeologist tells Smithsonian Magazine, quote, "It looks like the man it was buried with is hugging it. The hilt and guard end up at head and shoulder height, visually intermeshed with his face and his personal appearance." It's a longsword, right? Sword-hugging man's grave also contained a gold pendant engraved with a dragon or serpent, which researchers think might have been a treasured keepsake belonging to a female relative, per The Guardian. All of the men's graves contained larger weapons like spears and shields, while the women's graves held knives, brooches, brooches, buckles, and other artifacts. The sword will soon be featured on BBC's Digging for Britain, which is hosted by anthropologist Alice Roberts.
Oh, that might be interesting. I wonder if it's similar to Time Team.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look to see if maybe Alice Roberts was tied to Time Team at some point. Extraordinary Anglo-Saxon cemetery with really beautifully furnished graves, a lot of weapon burials where you find iron spear points, sexes, which are Anglo-Saxon knives. And then there's this astonishing sword. Honestly, I think it's pretty amazing. I want a higher resolution image of that. And I want to see more of the sword.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd provided a photo that showed the entire sword, not just part of it.
Or S word for 1,000. Because the weapon is in a lab, Sayer's team hasn't yet examined all of its mysterious runes. They don't often say anything that we can understand, but they would have been meaningful to the people who used and saw the sword and understood its story. Okay, but why are the source of the runes have to have meaning? That means that there has to be some context there. So if it was spoken, eventually it would be turned into written meaning, right?
True, but I do like that they're not like, well, this obviously means that blah, 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 because we frequently talk about that in some of these articles.
Right.
We don't always know, but I'm sure they're going to try to riddle it out.
It's like somebody getting a tattoo of Chinese symbols on their arm, and it's like, I like soup, but it's supposed to be this spiritual whatever.
Right, some significant quotation.
Yeah, this doesn't mean anything. All right, let's keep going. Our last article, I title, Mohawk did what now? But it's 3M and Mohawk hid chemical dangers that led to health crisis in Georgia County says. For decades, the corporate makers and users of forever chemicals used on carpet produced in northwest Georgia have hidden the associated dangers, leading to a public health crisis, Murray County alleges in a lawsuit. What? A corporation hiding? That?
No. I mean, there must have been like a specific facility there, I'm guessing, because this is unusual that a county is going after one of these companies.
Did anybody find those monkeys yet? Monkeys?
No, but they're not in Georgia.
You can't.
We
you don't know where
they might have. They might have crossed the border.
You don't know. They're learning how to talk and drive and fly SpaceX rockets. Rosie Mannins over at phys.org put this article together. What the hell? Is that related? I mean, it's a Pixabay, stock photo thing, but like phys.org
If it's on
normally.
phys.org, yeah, I think it probably is.
In some way, I suppose. I don't know. We'll have to see. So in its complaint Monday, the county took aim at chemical producers, including 3M, Daikin, and DuPont, as well as carpet manufacturers, including Mohawk and Shaw Industries. It claims that the companies have known since the 60s that per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, basically forever chemicals, PFAS and what's the other one? PFAS and something else.
PFOA.
PFOA what? PFOA and after. Hardly know her.
I think there's also PFAS.
All right. So the substances that they make and use are toxic, and they hid the fact while contaminated waste was dumped in the county's landfill. Oh, so boom, there you go. This is just representative, I'm sure. Thanks to these and other failures by the chemical makers and users, all or substantially all the residents of Northwest Georgia effectively have Scotchgard, Stainmaster, Teflon coursing through their veins, suppressing their immune systems and triggering debilitating and fatal illnesses, the county says in its lawsuit. But it's not just there, folks. If you used Scotchgard, Stainmaster, or Teflon, it has now been shown that it is a toxic substance for all intents.
True, but it sounds like they do a lot of manufacturing in this area, and I think that's why
Sure.
They're going after them.
Sure. So Maury County's case, which also includes claims against Chemours, is the latest in a growing legal battle stemming from the use of chemicals known as PFAS in Georgia's carpet manufacturing industry. Okay, so the big one, Scotchgard and Stainmaster, actually Scotchgard more than Stainmaster, I think. Like Stainmaster came after Scotchgard, I think, but Scotchgard was everywhere and promoted by everyone. You bought carpet, people pushed Scotchgard.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't just for carpets. It was like for vehicle seats and for shoes and
Everything,
other
curtains
things.
and whatever, because it would allow you to either wash out or kick out in some way stains. So the chemicals also used in nonstick pans, firefighting foams, and some food wrappers do not break down in nature and have increasingly been linked to fertility problems, developmental delays, and increased risk of certain cancers. 3M is pledged to cease making PFAS by the end of 2025. So don't do it immediately. Just slow down until
Right.
it agreed to pay up to $12.5 billion to public water suppliers, but doesn't admit any fault.
That's a lot of money for no fault.
In 2023, DuPont and associated companies announced a $1 billion settlement to end PFAS-related drinking water claims on behalf of everybody. Thank you. In 2005, DuPont paid $10 million to settle U.S. Environmental Protection Agency claims that it failed to report PFAS-related risks, but still has been...
Wow, that's like almost 20 years ago. It
Yeah,
is 20 years
it is 20
ago.
years ago, and it's only $10 million. So how much billions were made? And if they knew it, and there is a document that shows when they do it, this company should be just pinned to the ground. Like, just, it is done. Dissolve it and make sure that this bullshit never happens again. But that's not what's going to happen. Dozens of water systems in Georgia, and honestly, it's everywhere. It's not just Georgia, but Georgia is the hardest hit probably because that's the source of the main manufacturing system. From small providers in Chatsworth and Somerville and North Georgia to larger ones serving cities like Augusta and Columbus have already uncovered PFAS levels in their water that could exceed safe levels. Murray County alleges that its complaint that its landfill is pickled in PFAS, which migrate daily through waterways or into waterways through stormwater runoff, groundwater, landfill juice called leachate, in which PFAS levels are off the charts. The county's complaint includes a map showing dozens of water sources. So their runoff is because all of the waste that it has these PFAS chemicals in them. So now go and look at the wastewater runoff of any landfill and see how much PFAS is in it.
Exactly. I think this one may be a good target because they know the manufacturing is happening here.
Right.
And it's some known players in this space. But I agree, they should be checking this. Whether they'll be able to attribute it to anybody in some locations is going to be interesting.
But look at the population density of Georgia and these cities and their landfills, and then go to other higher density population centers and look at their landfill water runoff.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it's just as dire, and that should be pursued as well.
Or worse. I mean, whatever the purchasing trends were for carpet and anything else that had, yeah, it's pretty disgusting. But the people who started this in the 60s are either on their way out or dead, but their offspring have benefited from all of this. And if they freaking knew it, then they're sociopathic or psychopathic assholes. And they shouldn't be allowed to conduct business in any way, shape, or form. You know, poisoning the land and the people for profit is bullshit. I bet you they all used hardwood because their carpet was poisoning them and they knew it. Right? Oh, they went tile because tile isn't toxic. Wood can be, like lumber liquidators, for instance, used to have this toxic off-gassing of, it was like some chlorine was off-gassing into houses, and they were informed of it, I guess, at some point. And there was a lawsuit. Anyway,
Nice.
it's all connected, y'all. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, the obvious movie on this kind of topic is Aaron Brockovich, but another one is called Dark Waters.
Right. Yep. This is just going to be another one. Somebody's going to, do the yarn board. All right. Most of the time, people go, it's somebody else's problem. There's only so much information. We go back to the very first thing, information fatigue. When you know about it, what the hell can the average person do? So I talk about people like how to start a movement, that kind of a thing. And while it's easy and difficult, it's a lot of boots on the ground kind of thing, which is a really bad turn of phrase because it's directly tied to military action. But it's a grassroots movement. You have to go and talk to people. But this is investigative journalism, and then researchers being tied to it, and then basically law enforcement being involved in it, federal government being involved in it, and then eventually prosecution. But knowing about it from the 60s, they've known about it from the 60s.
That's entire generations.
Disgusting.
That's just outrageous.
I mean, it's 60 years worth of contamination. And it's not going to end, apparently, until next year. But what kind of disgusting bullshit is replacing it?
Well, and who's going to be impacted by anything available through 2025 and also disposal? But
of all of the stuff that's already produced.
If you've been born in 2025, you're still going to be impacted through your lifetime by it.
Yeah, so another side discussion that was going on today was about red 40, in the fact that the UK and EU have a replacement for red 40, but you can't use that. Can't remember what it's called, Coruscantite or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, you can't use it in the United States because it hasn't been cleared for the runway in the US. You still use red 40. So we know that it's bad and we're still using it, right? But it isn't so bad that it's being pulled off the shelves, right? So if you ever want to do anything that has red in it or composite black, you have to use red 40. There's no other way around it right now. Anyway, that silences the fact that, well, I guess I'm flabbergasted by it. It's safe enough to consume, but it still is being replaced by the EU and UK. That's the argument that people are making.
Safety isn't always the reason things are done.
It's always money. Well, for the sociopaths. All right. Well, anyway, that is the end of Non Sequitur News. We ran a little late. So we started a little late and we ran a little long. So I hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. We are going to race off to the hairstylist and get our own mohawks. And when we regain consciousness because we looked in the mirror, we will be back home at the ohmtown.com front page where you can go and get all your news. We aggregate all kinds of articles, and you can too. And there's 47 active channels right now. There have been off and on 50 full, but I pull them offline for brief moments for maintenance. At any rate, that is it. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI, we are saying bye. You want to say bye, AI?
Bye, AI. Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for another episode.
Cheerio. Bye-bye, YouTubes.